Today I'll be reviewing a game by Kitani Minoru. I wanted to start a new series where I go over pro games and show how they handle strong and weak groups. And Kitani is one of my favorite players. Has many different styles he's changed over his career, but at this point in time, he really likes to take territory and keep his groups really strong. Then he likes to invade and reduce everywhere. And I will link full game in the description. And I think his opponent kind of knew that he liked the game to be more solid. So I think he tries to complicate the game a bit. So here he plays this one, which you don't really see nowadays, but I think it's a pretty good move. If you play like a normal move here, white can kind of just approach, take the top side, and then he just has no weak groups. So he's trying to prevent that. And then he just takes a solid corner because he already has two corners. He has this one and this one. And if he tries to take this corner, then white can just approach and take this corner, which could end up making this group a little bit weak. But even if it doesn't, he can't really use the influence or anything because there's already stones here. So he just takes the corner. White does the same. And then he finally gets the last corner. So at this point, it feels like black has strong corner, pretty strong corner, and a strong corner. White has a floating stone here. This group has a cut. So the game's probably still pretty close, but I definitely prefer black. And he just jumps in here because he wants to keep his two weak groups separated and also reduce his potential here. And white has this pretty big cutting point, so he tries to fix it. And there is some Aji in the corner, but should be fine. Like the corner won't die or anything. So Kitani just tries to connect his stones together and put pressure on white. White's like, hey, there's some weakness here. What are you going to do about it? Just to see what happens. And he just connects solidly. And because there really isn't anything that can happen in this corner, like if he tries to Hane, I don't think black has issues living here. So he goes back to try and live on this side. And black is just like, okay, I'll just keep you separated. And then here, white tries very, very hard to keep his stones connected. But when he does so, his group is not very strong and has some peeps he has to worry about. Here, white only has really one eye. And it's very sad to try and crawl on the second line here to make eyes. It also seems like it might not work. So he's trying to push out this way. And black just stays nice and solid. He could probably try this one, but then there's this push and cut, and then there's a cutting point here, and now pushing out here. Black just has lots of issues, so he just plays very solid, tries to keep his group as strong as possible, and isn't too concerned with trying to kill this group. He just wants to make his groups really strong. Same here, just keeps defending while putting some pressure on white's group, and jumps. And now he's just going to take some more territory and reduce the potential that white had over here. And now there is some invasions here for white. So if black were to just tanuki somewhere, white can either invade here or put some pressure on it to try and get some eye shape. Black doesn't want to do that, so he peeps and then peeps again, which is fixing his weaknesses here, keeping his stones connected, and at the same time is threatening the cuts. So at this point, this is kind of just a stick. It doesn't have two eyes yet, but he is out into the center, so he can run out this way, he can run out this way. So there isn't really a good way to attack and profit. He's already got the profit on the bottom here. So this group and this group probably has the most weaknesses. So if black can strengthen these groups, then this one will just get weaker and weaker. So Kitani plays in the corner, which is kind of preventing something like this from happening, where he can aim to connect under. Kitani has to block. And then now this group is kind of cut off. And this group is a little bit stronger because he does something to make like a base here. He's reducing black's ice base. And there is still some peeps here that white can do. So black plays here to defend while looking at connecting under. So now if white were to try this, he can at least peep here and this group has a lot more space. White tries to attack anyway. Here, I think he wants to try and cut this stone off and connect his two groups, because if he can connect, then they stay strong. And black just connects under. So not only is he making a few points here, but now all of his groups are connected, and he doesn't have any weak groups. Now white is trying to get some potential here, because white is kind of behind on points. This group isn't really making any points. This one's not alive with no points. This corner can still be invaded, so he's kind of forced to do something in the center here. And black just plays nice and simple. If black were to tanuki here, there's some Aji here that he can use to try and get something on the outside and get a lot of potential at the top. So he just prevents that while staying as connected as possible. And so now the only direction white can really try and make some potential here is on the left side. And again, he just plays nice and solid because He can still turn here or jump in, or there's still like a peep here. So turning this into points is actually pretty difficult, but he already feels like he's ahead, has points. So all he needs to do is take some points while reducing. And this one also opens up some weaknesses in the corner. White is just trying as hard as he can to turn this into points or connect his groups together. And at this point, Black doesn't really have any weaknesses anywhere. All of his stones are connected, so he can be a little bit more aggressive here. So he goes all out to try and reduce. White plays a few moves here, which it could be that he did this because if he extends here, he can at least get one eye here, then maybe get an eye on the side. So he could have done that incente to try and make this group a little bit stronger. But the main thing is he wants to make this as complicated as possible, because if he doesn't get a lot in the center, then he's just too far behind. Kitani is very good at reducing, and he can just focus on just that because he doesn't have any weak groups to worry about. If Black had weak groups, like say this was weak, or there was a group over here that was weak, and he tries really hard to live over here, White could play like a leaning attack or do something to push on that weak group. But because there is no weak groups, he has the freedom to kind of do what he wants. And here's one of those examples where I wouldn't be able to play like this. And I think he plays like the blue move for AI for like 10, 15 moves in a row here. And pretty much what happened is he kind of just read that he can kill this corner before White can kill him, which is pretty impressive, I think. Yeah, so now this group is just dead. So that gives him some more territory. And then this is also just another group that is now super strong. White did get some influence in the center here, so he does have that potential. But Black was already ahead on territory, and he just got even more. So it definitely feels like White is in some trouble here. Black just tries to reduce while staying connected. Because if he just tries to jump in here like this, then it's just very easy for White to surround and turn this into like an all or nothing fight where either White kills and wins or Black lives. And White tries to get as much as he can because he feels behind. I think he wants Black to just connect here, and then he can double Hane here to try and take more. I think Black would be okay just doing something like that, but even though ahead, he's not crazy ahead. If you get into the habit of just backing off everywhere and giving them everything they wanted, the game's going to end up a lot closer than you wanted it to be, and there's a chance you make a mistake and you lose. And he doesn't have any weak groups, so I think he was confident that he can live here because there's lots of space, and he has no weak groups to worry about. Because even here, he's not too worried about this because these are just a little bit light. And if he connects here and White goes here, then White just got a bunch of points over here. And Black has a weak group, so he doesn't really have time to try and reduce that. So instead, he just extends here, reducing the points and keeping this light. So it feels very simple for Black to win this game. He just has to live or win the ko, and White has to stop both. Because if Black lives here, then White is just too far behind because he just doesn't have any points. Like there's no points here, there's no points here, and he has points here, but it can still be reduced. And so he just attaches. White tries very hard to keep it separated, but then he can just go back to the ko every time. So Black can just answer any ko threat, and then whenever White takes back, Black doesn't really need to play a ko threat. He just needs to play something to try and live in the center. So he just extends, is like, okay, you can connect, but then I'm going to connect. And then White has to prevent that. And then he takes the ko back. And then it kind of goes on like this for a while. And then it might look like Black got cut off here, but I think Black is just very confident that he can live here, so he doesn't see it as a threat. Yep, just simply lives and then goes back to the ko. But he already has lots of space here to live. He can connect over here. There's some cutting points for White, so it doesn't feel like Black is in too much pressure. They start another ko. Black just takes once to waste a ko threat and then comes back and connects. And then all Black has to do is just make eye shape. And here, Kitani is just so confident that he's ahead that he tries to simplify it a little bit. So even though he could probably extend here and try and save more, he's just happy to connect under. So he just sacrifices the 2 stones here, captures, keeps his groups connected, and whatever he kind of lost over here, he gained at least some of it back here. And he even got Sensei to come back and add more to his weak group instead of abandoning it. And then at this point, this group is just already alive. Just basic end game from here. White resigns. And even though there was some places where it got a little bit complicated, I don't think it was too complicated because at most he only really had one weak group at a time. White was never able to profit from attacking his weak groups. So this is one of the ways that you can use strong group, take territory, and then you just kind of slowly reduce their potential. Can be a bit hard at times, especially at first, but once you get used to it, I think it's a pretty fun way to play. But hopefully you like this video. I'll try to come out with more with different types of pros. Leave me a comment on if there are certain pros you would like to see next, and I can review them. And if you are interested, I do offer lessons on Patreon. I will also have that link down below in the description. Please check it out, and I'll see you all next time.